Welcome to another episode of the Prep Coach Podcast. We're back.
Been a while.
We had a bit of a hiatus. Well, how old is your
four-
daughter? That's
Well-
that's how long it's been.
Well, she was born on Wednesday, which means
And we didn't do it.
she's a month today.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about how life has been recently?
Life has been a little bit hectic, but in the best kind of way, of course. It's I told you boys previously, like, you're so nervous about, so you probably remember, like, what's it going to be like having another human to look after? How am I going to, I think I said to you before she was born, like, how am I going to fit that into everything that we're already doing? And it's actually just seamless. Like, for me, Aladdin's been so much easier. And I think part of it's not being as cautious and nervous. And I remember with Talia, I even just remember, like, holding her in that first month, like I was, and you are holding the most precious thing, but like everything you do is going to break this. Whereas with Elodie, man, I'll scoop her up one hand, she'll sit on my arm whilst I'm playing, toys with Talia. And so there's just that, level of knowledge you have when you have your second that I think just makes it easier. Maybe they feel that. Certainly for me, the difference was like very noticeable. Even me was like, you really found it so much easier. I was like, I really, really did. Couple that with, remember how difficult Talia's sleep was at the start.
Yeah. Has there been a difference the first 4 weeks?
Elodie's like everything you would expect a newborn to do which is what I thought Talia was going to be like. This is that. Feed, nappy, back down. Like during the night, feed, nappy, straight back down. And during the day, she's awake a little bit more, but as long as she's in your arms, she doesn't cry.
Fine. How's Talia been with it?
She asked me and I yesterday to take her back to the hospital. But that's Talia, right? Like, she's so freaking sassy, my daughter.
Oh,
She's hilarious. But we haven't in any way kind of like forced Elodie on Talia.
Yeah.
Like, go hug her, go play with her, give her a kiss. We haven't even made him take a photo together, really. Like, we had that professional shoot. That was the only time. Because it's not going to remember, and, we don't want the relationship between them to start with us forcing it on Talia. So we just let her take interest when she wants to take interest, and otherwise she just continues to do her own thing. But there's definitely been moments she's melting down a lot more, not because of Elodie, but because maybe she's not getting the same amount of attention when you just have, everybody only giving their energy towards you, and all of a sudden there's this other little creature in your house. So she'll say things like, "Excuse me, mummy, give Elodie to daddy and come and do Play-Doh with me," or "Mummy, please put Elodie in her bed now." Because remember, she just said 2, right? So she's so little things like that. You know how I said to you guys, she's a dictator with great manners, so she knows how to get what she wants. Yesterday, Cole had bought Elodie like a big Dumbo in a box as a being born gift. Natalia loves Dumbo. Natalia's got a very small Dumbo. So this is how manipulative she is really quickly. So she like sits on the couch and is like, "Well, that's for Elodie." We open it up. She opens it. She goes and gets her little Dumbo and says, "Here, Elodie, I will share with you." Gives Elodie the little Dumbo and swipes the mega Dumbo, and she's like really proud. I'm a good sharer.
Yeah.
But you've just stolen from his sister.
Oh, that's so good.
And I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more chaos to come. I'm curious to know, Scott, like what's the gap between E and H?
About 16 months.
Yeah, cool. So like when H was 3.5 and E was 2, like that chaos, because that's
in your stage. I remember Harvey just didn't really want to borrow. He wasn't like phased. He was just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Every now and then, though, and I said to you, you'll find there'll be times where maybe you're not both looking at Talia, and then she'll just look over and he see that sometimes to be like, "Oh, what are they doing over there?" And I'm not involved, and then I would sort of see that. So, but Harvey's a lot more chilled out, and I think girls, knowing that Talia's probably a bit of a diva, and I've got one of those as well, that they're just more work in a good way. But
just imagine like 2 Talias now, and that the chaos that would.
But they'll fight and they'll be thick as thieves, man.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes.
Yes,
so.
of course.
I took her to her first birthday on Saturday. Me stayed home with Elodie. So we were out about 4 hours and got home, walked in, like, "Let's go say hi to Mummy and to Elodie." And she said, "Don't worry, Daddy. Mummy just loves Elodie in the bedroom." And I was like, where did you get that from? That's like your assistant's like, you've been with me for 4 hours. That's more than enough for you to just favour me now. Don't worry about mum after everything she's done for you over the last 2 years because she's trying to put Alan to sleep.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
So, but yeah, it's been amazing, man. She's been a blessing. She looks very, very similar. So I'll be keen to see how they look because there's a lot of similarities.
Okay, awesome.
And yeah, the questions she was 3.665.
Yeah.
Born on the 6th of May. And her measurements were identical to Talia's. Same
really?
head circumference and same exact height.
Wow. There you go.
What do we guess? I can't remember.
I
You were
guess
I think you were the
I think I guessed.
I
that
guessed
much.
the Tuesday.
Yeah.
No, but I guessed the weight. I think we were talking. Didn't we guess?
guess
weight?
I was 3.8.
You were the closest to the date. You were the closest to the weight.
To the
Yeah.
weight, yeah.
And I was the furthest away.
But we're back. So we've just had some shows. Obviously, you came towards the end of the season and you emceed Melbourne, and then came to Goldie, emceed most of Gold Coast, most of the nationals.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then I got sick just after all the shows. The body's like, yeah, that's enough. You can now get sick and you can rest in bed.
So again, this is all these things. Your injury. This is all what's been happening to me for the last few years.
Even now, I'm trying not to cough because I can feel it.
Oh, you've been unwell, man. I feel for you.
Yeah.
You've been a trooper, but yeah, you've obviously done a lot over the last well, really for the last forever years, but
yeah,
definitely this year's been big.
Look, it was awesome to be back at all the shows, seeing everyone. The season was successful. The numbers were really good. The quality of athletes were really, really good as well. Everything went so smooth. I think I was telling you, Scott, is like, we just know what we need to do now at show days, and just everything just happens like clockwork. It's really not stressful at all.
No, it's just a lot of work.
It's just a lot of work, but we know what we need to do. Just got to get it done. So
yeah,
I think the season was really good. We had really good quality athletes. Obviously, you saw most of them at Melbourne and at Gold Coast as well.
Yeah, that Friday night show,
yeah,
the bikini and swimsuit at Nationals was just so amazing. I think we had 65 competitors that night, and that's just swimsuit and bikini. So 65 individual competitors.
I know.
Which the Opens had 36, 3 classes of 12. So the Bikini Opens were 36 individual competitors.
Yeah.
Not people doing multiple. Like, that was absolutely insane. And I think, you look at the quality that was up there, like the top 5 really for me, and that just shows how far bikinis come. I can pick out a handful of athletes in that top 5 that I was like super impressed with that were right up there, just missed out, who, blew my mind as well. And, hopefully they continue but that's how good the standard in bikinis at the moment.
Yeah, it's real. And those
crazy
divisions have blown up. We actually got a question about how has the categories changed from the amount of athletes over the years, and we just see that. I think we saw fitness, sports. Look, wellness is still pretty new, but like fitness and sports and even figure has shrunk a little bit. And bikini and swimsuit is just blown up, specifically swimsuit as well. Like, it was always a category like, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Now it's like most bikini athletes are also doing swimsuit.
Yeah.
And those two divisions have absolutely blown up.
Yeah, for me, the bikini quality and just everybody really understanding now. And I feel like, NBA has been a big part of like creating that exact standard for what bikini conditioning should be.
Yeah.
Because it's just gotten better and better. If I look at, as I said, the top 5 this year at Nationals and the last, say, 2 or 3 seasons, multiple of those, those close finishes to the Open winner and the Pro Card winner could have also, on any other day been very, very close.
Yeah.
And it just shows. But like having 2 open swimsuit classes, where you're having 20 plus swimsuit competitors, that was unheard of.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And you're not having lineups where this is a big thing that I feel like from, say, just after COVID, say, 2021, and then as it really started to get crazy in 22, 23, you're not having those lineups of bikini where it's like, oh, 4 were good and 5 were average. It's like, there's 10 of them, man, 9 of them were freaking awesome. There definitely wasn't like, oh, you don't deserve, you shouldn't be there. It was quality the whole way through. And I hope that continues.
Yeah.
I also hope, as a big fan of fitness and sports and wellness,
of course,
but like fitness and sports have been around for a long time. We've coached some incredible fitness and sports competitors, so we do have a little bit of bias towards it. But I want to see that back at 3 classes, like when, say when Roxy Deacon won her pro card at that national show, where that 40+ sports lineup was like
Wild.
freaky good. Like the quality was insane. I think that was 14 or 15 in that. I wanted to go back there, and bikini say the way it is.
Yeah.
They're out there. It's always just timing.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you might get ebbs and flows because those people are now in the off season, and then that bunch comes back and it explodes again. So, but hopefully we can get the consistency in the amount that we get.
Yeah.
Other big one was Classic. Classic was, I think it was the second biggest. I
It
think
was-
Bikini was the biggest,
On
but
the male side, that division's exploded.
yeah, Classic has definitely exploded.
And the quality was so good.
How nice is it to have 12, 15 posing routines?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
There's so many
and
posing
what's
routines.
good is that they're, in the early days, I feel like maybe people just sort of, I'll put this song on and I'll just make some posing. But the choreographing toward it is so much better. Like some of the guys, you can tell there's a lot of work in it, and the posing's getting better and better. And that's credit to the posing coaches too.
Yeah.
But they're taking a bit more pride and ownership. Like some of those routines were just wild.
Yeah,
and I think it starts the show really, really well as well.
I said that's the best start to a show with posing routines from a choreograph and quality perspective that I've ever seen. As an MC, having Normie on the DJ, you know how much peace of mind it is to know, because every song, every competitor wants to start at a different spot in a different pose. And I used to get so nervous as
they
they
get to this point
Yeah.
on the stage.
So-
like once he's taken his 4-step, hit play.
Yeah, we have a system. When you send us your music, you have to fill in when you want the music to start specifically and be specific.
Yeah.
And then that goes into a spreadsheet, and obviously normally has access to that.
And he does not miss.
No, he doesn't miss.
He does not miss, and it's that used to make me really, really
I
nervous.
know, it's nervous because you're like,
and
they're
that's
walking
not something I think about anymore.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just so flawless. But even that, as a system,
just having systems in place to make sure things don't slip through. And everything music has been tested before. Like, it's not on the day. It's the first time I've ever playing it on the DJ system. Like, he's tested it all, make sure it all works. There's some times where it hasn't worked. He's like, what do I do? And I was like, I just try this. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. What about any like standouts across? There were lots, but like that come to mind, even across like the pro shows, or that you guys were pretty impressed with from seeing it from that side.
The thing is, for us, sometimes we miss a lot because we're running around backstage. We're putting out fires all day, basically. So sometimes we don't get a chance to sit and watch. But obviously, seeing Nick Hanna jump on stage was awesome because he kept it completely under wraps until I saw him at Melbourne the week before, and I was like, "Are you prepping? Where are you?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm competing next week." I was like, "No way!" So to see him, and he made big improvements from the last time I seen him.
He looked really good.
Was awesome. So, and then he obviously had Phil, or Buff, goes by Buff, in Classic, and he was amazing as well at the Melbourne show and also at the National. So I love watching those two divisions and those two lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed by the improvements that he made. I ran around to the front. You guys were watching that bit, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty impressive."
Yeah.
But you talk about like a bodybuilder's bodybuilder. Like he didn't say a word, so there was no need the whole journey through to be like, "I'm going to tell everybody. Everyone acknowledge me." Like,
But I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
There's an element of the Dorian Yates just about it, where he
I
just,
love that too, man.
just in the shadows and just rocked up, took care of business, and then
And he's got his beautiful son on stage. Which, remember that moment on stage? I interviewed him when he won the last pro show when she was pregnant, and she's pregnant again. So it was like a nice full circle sort of moment of
You nail your interviews, but that was one interview I was like, "Fuck, he nailed it."
we say it all the time though. We're just like, how good?
How does he get
is MG? I even text you sometimes where I'm like,
you do make me smile side stage.
Yes.
But it's pretty like that's just a rare moment of like
I know,
getting that same.
to draw those two together and to make it a moment.
I was trying to get Nick's son because I almost had him with the Eclipse Mints
yeah,
case because he
yeah.
was crying side stage. I was like, I think I really got him, but no, it was beautiful, man. For me, that's some of the things that I wake up and I'm like, I'm pretty grateful for.
The other moment was the amateur bodybuilder that got his pro card.
Yeah.
And he obviously spoke about his medical condition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that interview with him was awesome as well.
just
He got his wife up on. Yeah.
And just the adversities of like what he'd gone through to get there. And it's always nice when you hear somebody else's perspective of, we know what it takes to get to like that level. But when you see the partner's version of watching, somebody who shouldn't really be in that position, get themselves in that position, and you hear the loved one tell them, and you just watch their eyes as their partner talks, and it's like, yes, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
It's like I still get goosebumps in all of those interviews, and that's how I know this is for me.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you did an amazing job. But was there any standout competitors or moments on the day?
Yeah, I thought the guy who won the classic pro division, the Brazilian gentleman who had won the WMBF pro card a few weeks earlier, when I saw him backstage when he was starting to pump up, I was like, Jesus, that is a lot of tissue. He's going to be wild. And he was super impressive.
He was.
Yeah. I was talking to him a little bit backstage, and I don't think he could understand what I was saying because his English wasn't amazing. But yeah, he was, and his partner was actually competing too. I think she did fitness, maybe
potentially. I can't remember.
Wellness,
maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, he looked wild.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome show, and we've got a bit of a lull now between the two seasons, between winter now, but we're back in no time. All right, let's get through some questions if you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I worded you up on some questions that specifically were asked for you to answer. Are you ready for them?
You want the one about something it was about insulin, wasn't it? I was training when you were asking me.
Yeah,
I think I got the gist of roughly.
Okay, cool.
Saying.
Can Scott talk about the fact that fat might be better when eating carbs than protein and carbs is when it comes to decreasing insulin response? So I know it's like the wording of this is not 100%, but the way I read this is like using fats instead of using
insulin
carbs.
Sensitivity. Yeah,
and insulin sensitivity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get caught up, firstly, in that element of minutia, but just because if you have having a high response, so if you, firstly, when we're talking about insulin sensitivity, you're talking about how responsive tissues are to insulin. So just because you might have a high carbohydrate meal and then you get a large secretion of insulin, that doesn't mean that you are not insulin resistant. Because if you look at, say, a majority of physique athletes, I would argue that physique athletes, let's assume that most of them consume anywhere from 4 to maybe even 7 or 8 grams of carbohydrate per kilo of body weight. We're probably in the most insulin resistant athletic populations that there probably are, because we consume large amounts of carbohydrate. And just because you're consuming a meal that may have, you're talking about a meal with protein and fats that may be lower carbohydrates, so you're not getting a large secretion of insulin. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden now you're really insulin sensitive. Because if you look at the net amount of carbohydrate you're consuming over a day, you got someone that's eating 800 grams of carbs, they can still be quite insulin resistant, but it's just that there's a larger secretion of insulin with each meal because there's more carbohydrate going into the system. For me, I think when you're talking about macronutrient distribution, there is a time and place, because if you're talking about trying to maximize, say, lipolysis, so we're talking about oxidizing more free fatty acids, in order to induce that, one of the key proteins that needs to be activated is hormone sensitive lipase, and insulin basically blunts that. So if you're talking about you're trying to oxidize more free fatty acids, you're consuming carbohydrate, you're basically shutting down that metabolic pathway. But again, we know that energy balance governs, total fat loss. But I still think that when we're talking about tissue retention and maximizing fat loss, allocating your carbohydrate around training time. So, and it also, when we're talking about insulin sensitivity, your muscles, your body is more receptive and more responsive and sensitive around that pre-workout, post-workout period, because uptake of glucose is going to be better around training. But I think if you're talking about trying to get leaner and retain more tissue, carbohydrate's the body's preferred fuel source. So you're talking about training performance, and we've spoken about how, and I've been big on this, and I feel like over the last maybe 6 months, people are now saying, see, you don't necessarily need to be, there's a big debate going on. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, Stu Phillips, who's like the GOAT of protein
guy. Yeah.
And he's been getting hammered by Alan Argon and not really Eric Helms, but just Eric was speaking about a meta-analysis that he had done and saying that there maybe is a time and a place for higher protein intakes when it comes to being in the dieting condition. And I actually agree with that. But Stu sort of had a blanket statement: anything above 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight is void. You don't need to worry about it. But there is research, especially in our physique populations, that shows that when you are in the dieting condition, that maybe, consuming a higher protein diet can be beneficial. And there's lots of different caveats to that. But I think when you're talking about the back end of prep and you're trying to retain as much muscle as possible, you're not just talking about how much protein you're having. You also have to consider carbohydrate, because as I have been very big on for years, training performance ultimately governs the amount of tissue retention you're going to have. And I've said that I would rather have an athlete consume 1 gram per kilogram of body weight of protein than someone who's consuming 2 or 3 if they're able to train really, really hard versus someone who doesn't train hard enough. And I guarantee you, if you were to run that, you would see that. But the reality is, we want to try and find that balance between the two. So now we're sort of going off on a different tangent, but I think there is a time and place for lower carb and high fat, high protein. And that also is a tool that we use around delaying gastric emptying and enhancing satiety. So when we're dieting, for sure, there's a time and place, but we'd also try and allot our carbohydrate around when we're going to be training, not around or not necessarily stressing around insulin sensitivity. So
scientifically, how would you even check that? Like,
well, in terms of how,
but how would someone check that?
oh, okay. Do you want to pause it?
No.
Oh, keep going. Okay. I think in terms of how you would check it, well, I mean, you would be up, you just do a blood draw after someone's consumed a meal and seeing where blood glucose levels is and seeing where, insulin is. But again, I think you're trying to major in the minors here. And again, I would be more concerned over where you're allotting your carbohydrate around your training window.
So it's not about one or the other. It's when to utilize one versus when to utilize the other. And from what you're saying, if I summarize it, is that if you wanted to distribute your fat and your carbohydrate macro throughout the day, it's better to put more of the carbohydrates in and around training and less of them outside of that window. And that's when you can have more fats within your diet as well. Because I know you've also spoken about in other podcasts, when you go to bed, eating low so that you can obviously induce more fat loss overnight.
Yeah, so sleeping low, training
sleeping low.
low.
Did I say eating low? Sorry.
No, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about lower carbohydrate, but let's say you have 5 meals a day and your training slot is 11 a.m. and that you have, you might have 2 meals before then. So then you have 3 meals after you've trained. For me, I would be structuring it so that the meals prior to training are ultimately going to fund that. You might want a little bit of carbohydrate in the post-workout meal as well. But then if we're training after 2 meals, meal 3 would be reasonably low carbohydrate. Meal 4 and meal 5 would be lower carbohydrate because there's no need for that unless you're someone that has trouble sleeping and you needed it for that. But typically, you would try and use sleeping low and then training low around cardio as well, because if you're in a state of lower carbohydrate availability, we're also looking at some of the adaptation from a cardiovascular benefit as well. I've spoken about when you train low or when you're in a lower state of carbohydrate availability and you're performing aerobic type exercise, you get an increase in some of the signaling proteins that converge on PGC1 alpha, which is the master of mitochondrial biogenesis. And without getting too nerdy, inside our muscle cells, we have mitochondria. And so when we perform a task, I'm talking, I'm training, in order for me to facilitate that task, it requires ATP. And ATP is the body's energy currency. It's energy currency of a cell. And so in order for us to produce more ATP, we either need more mitochondria or bigger mitochondria. And so we know that when we switch on this protein, PGC1 alpha, it's able to converge, firstly, it can go into the mitochondria and it can also, it'll allow gene expression to take place. So it allows us to get fitter. And if we then relate that back to our ability to train, for me, when we're in prep, that also means that maybe we can train a little bit harder. We can push a bit harder in the gym with our resistance training sessions. So there's also the benefit from that side of things, but it also allows us to then allot our carbohydrate around the period of time when we need it. Because rather than viewing it as total calories throughout the day, I'm more looking at when do I need this particular substrate? What's going to give me the best return on investment for that? So if I'm eating 200 grams of carbs a day, I would want probably 120 of that at least to be consumed prior to training. Maybe it's split over 2 meals so that it allows me to get the most return on investment from that. Because then after that, a little bit of carbohydrate to recover, but the goal is obviously fat loss. Yeah. And the goal to retain the tissue is the training. And in order to train hard, you've got to fund that, which is carbohydrate.
Makes sense. The purpose of prep is to get lean, but retain your muscle. So that's what you're trying to tackle, those two issues there within your the way you distribute your macronutrients across the day, based in and around your training. So it makes sense. You've got two things that you want to try to do. You're going to try to maintain your muscle and lose fat. And the way that you do that, the muscle maintenance comes from the training and fueling that training. And the fat loss comes from making sure that you're not blunting it in any way and you're also in a deficit.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not to say that you can't eat carbohydrate and still lose fat, because as we said at the top, what ultimately governs it is energy balance. But we're not just trying to lose weight in contest prep, we're trying to lose fat and retain muscle. And so if that is the goal, the way that you allot your carbohydrate, again, people have a different view on this, but my view is that substrate allocation, it absolutely matters. And anecdotally, with a lot of my athletes, that, you know, if I use Nerida as an example, who she's just wrapped up her season now, but we were very, very strategic, especially when we're in our digging phases, around when we would have higher carbohydrate meals and when we would have lower carbohydrate. And even on her cardio days and her rest days, again, we were strategic around where we had that to maximize the adaptation.
I think I said to you at the show, I was like, she might be the leanest athlete of this whole weekend. She was
nice. Absolutely. Like her quads are insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Okay, let's go to the next question. If you've still got some breath in you.
Yeah, my throat's gone a bit too.
What's the go with berberine? Is it good to take in prep? So berberine, I'm not familiar with it. It's a supplement.
You asked me about that, and I haven't looked into it. But from what I remember, it's looking at what's used around weight loss. But again, berberine, I think, is how it's referred to. But my understanding is that the research on it, it's pretty light. There's not a lot of weight behind it, and it's quite modest. I think if you were to look at what compounds are going to give you a better return on investment at the moment, it'd be something like Reta or semaglutide, or in terms of what actually is going to offer you, a better return on investment. So for me, I wouldn't be wasting my money on it. But again, I'm not well versed on this particular supplement. But from what I do know vaguely, trying to re-jog my memory, maybe I'll have a bit of a look over the next week and come back to you. But I don't think there's anything too robust in it. I know it's not in Group A or Group B of the AIS framework in terms of supplements. And for anyone that wants to know what are the best supplements that I should look at, if you just type into Google AIS supplement framework, and for context, pretty much, I'm not sure about the NBA, but I know for over in Europe, in Premiership football, Premiership rugby, we all go off the AIS framework in terms of the supplement protocol. Okay. So there's different tiers, Group A, B, C, D, in terms of, what's the most efficient, the best type of supplements that give you the best bang for your buck without any real health outcomes, negative health outcomes. So, looking at your creatines, looking at caffeine, things like that. And then obviously it follows down. So there might be, lion's mane, which might be in Group D or Group C, things like that. So if you're not sure, go to the AIS framework supplement. Then
awesome. All right, we'll give you a break, MG. There was a question here. Do you and Mr. Timsy have to fake the spark towards the end of the day, or are you generally that happy? Do you want to talk about how many monsters Timsy consumes by the end of the day?
I actually talked to him about that. I was like, bro, you can't be having 6, because he didn't really sleep that night either.
6 fucking monsters he has.
What's 6 by 160?
That's crazy.
What's that? 960. Yeah, it's a big day.
That's a lot.
Plus we went for coffee that morning too, and he had a double espresso. So he's around 11.
He didn't sleep that night. He told us he didn't sleep.
Yeah. So his blood caffeine levels would have been out of control.
So Timsy definitely has the spark.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's listened to this or knows either of us, and you heard Dwyer spoke before, we do love it. I'll tell you how much he loves it, right? If he walks competitors out on stage, and based on whether there's 4, 6, 8, he knows to put them in a certain spot. If the judges move them off where they're supposed to be, he gets frustrated because he just wants it to be so perfect for everybody. Monsters or no monsters, he would be like that.
Yeah, regardless. He takes a lot of pride in what he does. He just loves
us. He also one of the things you guys don't see, what, when everyone walks off stage, so you do your division, and I'll say, congratulations, competitors, you can now make your way off stage. He waits for every single person one by one, and double fist pumps every athlete from non-placings to placings in every single division to the last division of the day. Yeah. So, yeah, that's just kind of ingrained in him.
Yeah.
And yes, he's had a lot of caffeine, but he would do that regardless.
Yeah.
But like the third person will walk out in bodybuilding posing, and I promise to God, he'll roll his sleeve up, and you can see the hair standing up on his arm.
Yeah.
In an amateur posing routine, he'll be like,
Yeah, he
he
loves
loves
it.
it.
fucking
Absolutely
loves
loves
it.
it. Yes.
He loves it.
Could a natural bikini athlete compete in untested fit model for IFBB, or based on your experience, do you think they are two different looks?
I mean, we've had natural bikini competitors do enhanced
untested.
like
Yeah,
IFBB.
I definitely.
So fit model without a doubt, like
Sure, without a doubt.
like I had Ash, you've had people do.
Well, I just had Maddie
There
do
you go.
fit model.
Yeah, and win
this season. Yeah, and
So-
win in SA.
So, so totally fine.
Definitely. I think that untested fit model, or even tested fit model, but untested fit model, the muscularity and the conditioning can definitely be achieved naturally.
I mean, here's an example. Like up to physique, he's proven it's possible. So,
Well, yeah.
so that's it. That's a step bigger and way bigger and way more conditions. So
I'm very keen to see the middle of the year, the IFB or the NPC Naturals,
Yeah, me
to
too.
see
What's
look,
rewarded.
Yeah, if the look is any different to the untested look, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Like imagine you had a natural bikini athlete that could mimic the look of a enhanced bikini athlete, and they step on stage. Are they going to reward that because it's the same look, or is it like it has to be a natural look? I don't know. Like I really don't know.
yeah. I mean, I've got a handful of people competing, and I've got some different looks. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Which way it goes. But
You would think the judging should be exactly the same. It's category, it's criteria,
for sure.
it's a specific look. Yes,
But is it smaller and is it
Like,
softer?
like as an
or is it-
example, Ash did untested and did well. If she just kept going and did the natural show, she in theory should be rewarded.
the same, right? Yeah, if you removed all the people that were enhanced above her,
Yeah, then she should still be rewarded.
yeah, that's my take too.
Sure.
Like obviously bodybuilding is different. A natural bodybuilder is not going to look like an enhanced bodybuilder at that ultimate level, but they should look at him and be like, cool, he's still got everything exactly the same. He's just smaller.
And conditioning normally is
Well, the natural ones are better, right?
Yeah.
From a conditioning standpoint. So yeah, watch this space. It'll be interesting. But based on that question about fit model,
for sure.
it can be definitely be achieved for sure. Okay, so future of natural bodybuilding still improving in your opinion versus back in 2022, 2023?
So 2022, 2020, oh, that's when you competed, right?
Yeah, I competed 22.
Yeah.
Amy was
that was
23.
That was great quality.
Yeah,
that was really
I
good.
think it's improving. I don't think anything has regressed.
No,
I don't think I said is the numbers
in certain
in
divisions.
certain divisions have regressed slightly. Like you think about the fitness lineups back then.
But
22,
fitness was
22, 22.
the hottest division for females to do versus now it's bikini.
Yeah, even sports in 24 like phenomenal. So it's just kind of changed around a little bit, and bikini and classic
is building more.
is huge, and the qualities are phenomenal.
But now that there's more entry level divisions, it's a lot more inclusive. So if you're someone that hasn't got crazy genetics and you haven't built that foundation, you can really resistance train for a year to 2 years, like decent resistance training, and you can probably do a comp versus back in the day, you want to go and do fitness, or if you're one of the guys, you want to go and enter into men's physique or something, you've got to put like 5 or 6 good years of training into you. So I think and that's partly like with IPB.
So is this going to stay this way?
It opens more doors. But if you look at the divisions, everything's still standard. I think is getting better and better. And I also think that because there's better information now, there's more coaches, there's better coaches. So free advice is a lot more readily available to be able to get when and if you want it. So I think, and there's more. I mean, you remember that? I don't forget the kid's name, but the bodybuilding kid who was like 18 and he was in the overall. Remember?
Yeah. Yes, that was last year.
No, this
year.
This year. Oh, yeah. He was 18.
Yeah, the young lad.
Yeah,
he was great.
So it was awesome. Yeah.
You look at him, but again, you don't see a lot of that. Like if you go back a few years ago, you wouldn't really see a lot of that. But there's a lot more. The younger generation, 16 through to 19, are getting good coaching at an earlier age and are doing the apprenticeship a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And they're stepping on stage and being very, like some of these kids in 22, 23 are wild versus you typically wouldn't have seen that till they're 28, 29.
Yeah,
so we're seeing that.
Yeah, look how good bikini under 25 is.
It's ridiculous.
In the last,
that would have to be the biggest division, isn't it?
It's one of the biggest.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I think not this season, but in C of last year.
Yeah,
I think it was
massive.
24 or 25 and under 25.
It was massive.
It was a monster, yeah.
All right, let's end on this one. What are some good tips to reduce food noise post-comp? A lot of people are going through post-comp at the moment. Reducing food noise.
It's crazy that the season's over.
I know. There's got to be, I think I've already said this to a couple of my athletes already, is there's post-comp, there's going to be food noise. You're going to be hungry. They're going to be food focused because you've got to put that body fat back on for the body.
And that should be the number one.
Yeah.
Goal. Restore essential fat mass.
Yeah. So you could tell them to eat endless amount of food. They're never really going to feel full. There's always going to be some food focus and hunger until that body fat comes back on and the body goes, cool. Now it's back on. I'm happy.
Yeah. I think the key is more around like setting yourself up for success by not organizing too many things that are just based around like
Food.
overeating, over consuming. You're going to have to put it on. How controlled you are, will ultimately determine composition. But we do want it to get back on. But I think psychologically, you're going to have a more difficult time if you're going out 5 to 6 times a week with friends. Every time you eat, there's going to be that cycle of like that post-eating guilt. And I think those that set their house up for success by not filling the pantries up with too much high-calorie stuff and organising every catch-up with friends that they missed out on for only 26 weeks, they had 10 years worth of catch-ups in the first 4 weeks because we've seen it happen, right?
Of course.
That's probably the best thing that you can do. It's just like...
You can have the best set plan. You can be motivated. You can have willpower. But if you put yourself in an environment where there's temptations...
For sure.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
And it doesn't need to be perfect. Like,
no.
You can have some flex and it's okay. It's just more around like how quick you go and how quickly you like you talk about the Ferrari example, which I think is just one of the greatest examples ever. It's like you scratch your rim, don't put the whole car into the freaking wall, right? Like it's the greatest one. It honestly is the greatest of all time, that one. It's like, fuck yeah, that makes so much sense. So like you scratch the rim today, good. Maybe 5 days from now you scratch the rim again, but you still haven't written the car off.
Yeah.
So it's still okay. You still got a Ferrari. So a few scratches here or there, he's okay. Don't be guilty about the scratches, but like doing that is what you shouldn't do.
Yeah. Anything to add on that?
No, I think it's just, again, it's important. And also for coaches and practitioners, you got to communicate with your athletes earlier. Don't just preps finish and then they have no idea. So what happens now? Oh, because I've already organized this and I've organized that. So it should be an ongoing conversation that you're having. And I think if someone's lean, really lean as well, also getting some bloods done, obviously within your scope if you know how to interpret that kind of information, but that ultimately gives you the feedback of where physiologically is this person at, and then based on that as well, it helps to inform what you need to do and how you're going to go. And you can have a plan, and it doesn't always, you might plan that you're going to put this in place but you don't get a response. I can use Nera as an example where we put her recovery phase in place, and within the first week we've had to push things up a little bit more because she's gaining weight, but not at the rate that I want her to hit that first checkpoint, because she needs to get back to baseline. Even though, and her bloods, which we've had them done, are actually surprisingly really, really, really good for where she's at.
Shocked.
Like there's certain levels, like her aminotransferase levels are up.
Sure.
But a lot of the other markers that I would have expected, I mean, and again, look at some of the reproductive hormones.
Sure.
I need to eat something.
Yeah.
That they're compromised, but we would expect that to be the case. But the rest of her panel is actually really good, and I think a big part of that is because she was had back-to-back peak weeks, food was high, but we're still looking at that panel and we know that she's still compromised from an endocrinological perspective, and so we need to restore more fat mass. So we had to push a bit more food in to help facilitate that. But again, she has one off-plan meal a week that she knows she needs to eat that meal, enjoy it, and really until she's in a space where body composition wise, and she can see a bowl of chips and a dessert and not feel like I need to eat it. It's just there. I'll have it later if I want to, which just takes time.
Of course it does.
Would you both agree, and just to finish, any coach that's been doing it for a long time in that reverse period, a good coach is, if you're honest with them, a good coach is not going to make you feel terrible about something like that.
Of course not.
Like for me, I think that's a red flag. Like,
yeah, of course.
Anyone who understands it truly and knows what it's like and what it actually takes to recover, if your coach is like, you idiot, did it. I've never seen that be successful.
I said to an athlete recently, I was like, you overeating or not staying to the plan and having something extra that you shouldn't have had, the amount that you're mentally and emotionally and physically beating yourself up about is probably worse than what that little bit of extra calories is
For
doing
sure.
to you, right?
Sure.
I'd rather you not beat yourself up about it, let it go, it happened, and move on, because you just continuing in your mind to, I stuffed up, this is so bad, that's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Than what that little piece of food did
For
to
sure.
you.
You know what my response to it is now? It's like, hey, let's not worry about what it was. Let me just explain to you why it happened. A, B, and C, and let's move on.
Move on. Yeah.
Like have an understanding as to physiologically why it happened, maybe what the environment that you were in did, so you can try and avoid it next time. But it's pretty easy to understand why it happened, right? So
Yeah, awesome. We're back. We'll see everyone in the next one. Thanks for all your questions, and we'll see you soon.
it was a substantial episode.
It was good.